Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Deus Ex Human Revolution. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you're chose to join me today as I read the emails of at Picos. We're currently at Picos, and that's the TV station, because Eliza Cassandra, or Cassan, or something, she's apparently in collusion with the powers that be, sort of. And Jensen just jumped to conclusions, the biggest leap to a conclusion that you've ever seen, and he flat out refused on camera to explain why he did that jump. Let's find out if he has a reason, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't actually. I don't think we come back. It's more or less the self-explanatory thing. Is the I was right, so I don't need to explain myself. Anyway, coming in, writes Jack. Heads up. Orders come from way up. Code Blue. The situation is critical and everyone must be evacuated. No details whatsoever. They're going to put the building in lockdown pretty soon. Get ready. And that's Picos W double space head of security. And this is the Lily. Don't have much time. Get out now. Hiccup. I don't know what's up, but they are evacuating the building. And then Bridget. Hello all. Need I remind you that there are a lot of people working in this office and that we have parking regulations for a reason. Please be professional and use the parking spaces assigned to you. This is the last warning. Next time culprits will see their vehicle towed. Wait, you mean they don't get their vehicle towed immediately? Very lenient people. And we have more money over here that we absolutely do not need. We have lovely books over here about Charles Darwin and the origin of species. Not Charles Darwin. No, wait. What's the original book? That's about the original book, maybe. Actually, maybe just about the person. And we have figures show sharp global rise in terrorism. The number of serious... That's the task thing. Yeah. It's the one that we saw outside as well. So the newspapers seem to be doubling a lot. Before, I was just reading them every time I saw them, but anyway. Nope, what is this? You guys asked for passwords. I can't write. Okay, we don't need that. It's a telephone ringing over here. We got a television that hopefully we can disable. We cannot disable, well, turn off. That's the word for it. I'm still being careful because I don't know where we're going. That's really the reason. And there's a camera around here, but not in this level as far as I can tell. A lot of spilled coffee. Is that what, is that the game trying to show us that everybody evacuated, as we saw in that email? TYM attacked by a lunatic. Unknown identity of the intruder. Ellipses. Very professional, using ellipses in a newspaper. But then again, they use double spaces and double dashes, so whatever. That is about us, though, so that's a cool attention to detail. Very low-tech, low resolution. But this game isn't made for full HD, which is how I'm playing it right now. It's made for 720 because it plays on console. That's why the cutscenes look all blurry and bad.
Jensen, something's not right. Picos is a 24-hour global news network. Why isn't anyone answering their phones?
I'll get back to you on that.
I can answer the phones. Ooh. No, I thought I heard somebody detect me, but that is not the case. That is a little bit of a redundant question. Oh, that's what I heard on the right side. Did you hear that? That's the soundtrack. It's a redundant question because we have already been observing the fact that there's nobody here. There's nothing behind the vending machines either. What do we have here? This is my favorite. This is what I want to do. This is what Deus Ex should be. Ventilation shafts, left and right, forever. Oh, we're going down. Was I here? That is where we're supposed to go. The X stopped being a triangle and became an X. You know, on the minimap. I don't even know what it's supposed to be. It's like, is that supposed to be an arrow? Because it got something inside of the triangle. I can't see it very well. It's all very tiny and I'm blind. Well, not really. You know what I mean. Sort of my eyes I need glasses, and I need better glasses. What I need. Every time I go to the doctor, I'm like, doctor, I can't see very well. I need to see better. And I'm like, nope, your glasses are good. Shut up. And I'm like, no. Okay. That's basically the gist. No. Okay. So I do. Yeah, so there's a lot of cell phones. I like that. That's nice attention to detail. Not cell phones, you know, the phones calling. Because in 2027, everybody has landlines. Actually, it makes some sense in an office. What it doesn't make sense is that they're using computer screens from 2004. Nah, that's unfair. That's from 2012, actually. That's unfair. 2004, they would have... No, it's computer screens from 2004. It's just very high-tech computer screens from 2004. But then again, screen technology didn't evolve very much throughout the whole plasma television debacle. Because, you know, televisions... At the end of the day, television sets are... Look at this thing. Look at the size of this thing. Television sets are what push technology forward in terms of screen. Because we had full HD computers or screens with an amazing color reproduction, like the quality of color similar to modern day HDR televisions, and we had them back in the 90s. They were just... And flat screen. I'm talking flat screens with matte screens and all that. They were just extremely expensive.
Check the emergency activation logs, Pritchard. I've got a sealed fire door here, and I suspect it's not supposed to be.
All the building's fire doors are locked down, but you should have a clear path to room 404.
Wait, this is where I was. This is exactly where I was. Why did I get 2 lines? That's interesting. Wow, that's an easy one to miss, because you, like, especially, like, he talks to you over here, and you don't go back. You saw that door was closed. Either way, yeah, it's just televisions are what's driving screen technology these days, and that's why we have, you know, extended range color things and, you know, high definition, whatchamacallit, and HDR and all that. But back when this game came out, everybody didn't even have full HD in their homes. It's difficult, though. It's difficult making a television of high resolution. It's a lot. That's the big reason why the company sort of didn't want to invest so much in the panel resolution early on, in the computer or the television panel early on. So there's a bunch of passcodes over here that are very safe. It's because, you know, it's just due to the nature of making such a big television screen without a dead pixel in it. I say without a dead pixel in it. I have never seen a single screen ever. Not even on a... I mean, I have... That's a lie. I have seen screens with dead pixels, but that's like on small, like, cheap watches that have screens or cheap things. But not on computer, not on any monitor screen or television. Never seen a dead pixel. And I've been looking for them, because people are like, oh, dead pixel. I don't know, maybe it's because I live in Europe. And, they have different... I mean, you can't have dead pixels on your screens. You're gonna get it sent back. Because you got minimum 2-year warranty for everything. Server room, door code, bank account, a bunch of things, and thank you very much. That's all things that I have zero interest in, because you know we're doing this. Because that's how important it is. Okay, so we're going up there because that's easier. Hopefully that's good enough. Oh, that went away. We're gonna do it.
Access granted.
Yeah, the selector went away, and that threw me for a loop a little bit, but it was all good. Stun gun darts, just in time for me to... Wow, I'm not sure if I'm gonna need to use them. I'm just clearing the perimeter. Wow, are there drawers everywhere? That's kind of interesting. Have I been missing the drawers every time, or did they decided that... Oh, this is the firewall that Jensen was talking about. Yeah, he's definitely not confused at all. I was like, how do you know that's a firewall? I didn't really comment about it because it's sort of... That's the level of pedantry that I'm not willing to go into. It's all the other pedantry that I'll that I'll absolutely go into every time. But I think I was gonna say, yeah, this is the game. The spilled coffee is the game telling us people ran out. They even spilled their coffee while they were running out. But I think that's because they couldn't really tell the real story. In real life, it's easier.
Looks like everyone left in a hurry, Pritchard. The place is deserted.
Because somebody triggered a fire alarm and then silenced it. I suggest you find Miss Kassan quickly and get out of there.
Will do. In the video game, it's kind of difficult to convey that people left in a hurry, but in real life, it's pretty simple. You just, you know, have the coffee be in the cups, and you're like, ooh, this place. Look at all the like half-drank coffee cups all over the place. I mean, there's better ways than just relying on coffee. Oh, I see. That's where we came out of. Wait, oh yeah, this is the lower level. Okay, let's see what this computer has for us. We still have to explore the main level, main floor, or whatever. Okay, this is easy. And we have that over that, and that over that, sure. Over here. That number 4 was always gonna make it obvious that I was here. This thing was difficult, but we don't need to worry about that. We have emails from Jack Mosher, Pika's double space head of security. Hello all. Just a simple reminder regarding security and the emergency protocols. In the event of an emergency, the various security doors located around the Pika's complex will activate based on current security patterns. These doors are of course meant to increase security around the complex. Alternative routes and evacuation measures are a crucial part of everyone's safety. Please make sure to revise section 5.1 to 7.3 of the employee's manual on a regular basis. That sounds like a terrible security, actually. Just make it hard for people to remember where they need to go. Holy crap. Hi everyone, as you all know, next month is time for our biannual employee day. That's your social club delegates that's writing this. All of you are quarterly invited to the Fun Dome on St. Hubert for a variety of that's St-Hubert. This game does sometimes initialisms with dashes instead of periods, and I don't understand. Anyway, it's St. Hubert for a variety of activities such as VR Wars, Virtua Bowling, arcade machines, and of course an Alley Combatants 7. That's a Street Fighter 7 tournament organized by none other than your IT department. We will also rent a pub upstairs for those who prefer a more relaxed atmosphere and, well, booze. Free booze, that is. Please confirm your presence before next Friday. That's not a very good party. You're just gonna separate the people like that? You're just gonna put half of them in the booze section and the other one playing video games? Why don't you put the booze with the video games? And instead of just don't play competitive. What is this? It's terrible. Playing competitive games in a social event. You play goofy games. Like Jackbox. Simon Sanguine writes to Jenny, MDM wants Eliza to wear a blazer from their new fall collection. Do you happen to have her measurements? I'd make a guess, but I have never seen her in person. No worries if you don't know them. I'll ask Sanjeev. And then Morgan Everett. Ooh. That's the CEO. He even looks like that a little bit. No, it doesn't really. Hello, everyone. Another semester gone, and again, we greet a new one. A very important one for Picus, as it will see the launch of 2 new website projects that will let us better compete in the respective fields of search engines and social networking. That's all one sentence. Clearly, he is hired to be a CEO, not a writer. Our media and entertainment division, along with telecom and advertising, all show a significant increase in both popularity and revenues. All the while, we are expanding again our networking power with yet another communication satellite facility in northern France. So, to keep things simple, if a bit cliche, I'll go with keep up the good work. I, for one, am a proud member of your team. Also your boss. But I'm not gonna say that, because otherwise you might unionize or something. We have a bunch of money. Not really. 110 is pretty decent, though. And a stun gun dart. but there's nothing else over here. So this wasn't Everett's office, naturally. It was just somebody. These offices are weird. I'm not sure I like them. I like the idea here. I don't know how it's supposed to be, but some in real life you can make, like, basically using the same screen technology that you use on a television to make sure you don't see the backlight. The backlight as in, you know, the television is lit up from underneath in a traditional television anyway, an old school television. In these televisions, they're lit up from there, and sometimes from both sides, from there and there. So basically they have an LED strip up there and an LED strip down here, and that's it. And it lights up the whole television because of, you know, they have technology that refracts the light and does all that sort of things. And you can make that just expand through all of that. It's not very expensive because it's just the actual plastic on top, on the front of the screen. And so you can just make it so that it looks like there's a sun above the thing. And it's pretty good, but this doesn't look to be that. And I can't see outside because it's so dark in here that I literally cannot see outside. That's not how light works, but that's how video games work. Panchea from Thomas Minton, project manager for Picus Web. Hey Doug, this feels like a game written in in the year 2000. I was talking last episode about how outdated some of the notions are, but honestly, the original Deus Ex suffered from that. It really did. Like, one of the endings, or it's not one of the endings. The ending I'm not going to spoil it for you if you haven't played it, but the ending in general concerns itself with some notions that we have completely come to understand very deeply over the course of last 10, 20 years with the internet. And it has specifically to do with the internet, the plot. And it just feels like, I don't know, it feels like your grandparent talking about, oh, maybe the internet is going to be good for this. And it's like, yes, Dad, people have been doing that for 20 years already. Or Granddad, anyway. Whatever. In my example, what I mean to say is that if you're not really, these days, in real life, right? If you're not really working and dealing with the internet specifically, and I say that as a web developer myself, and obviously as a YouTube Let's Player, and as a millennial. So I've didn't really grow up with the internet myself, because I didn't. But I mean, I'm ever since I was, I think 19 years old, I think, is when I got my internet connection, my personal internet connection anyway. So the point is, you know, people who aren't like me, they have certain ideas that are just that are, you know, that I know intuitively to be, we're past that, sort of, you know what I mean? Just people coming up, oh, maybe they should do a website where people can sell their used stuff, and I'm like, yes, they have been doing that since, well, before I even had the internet, because Craigslist is, I think, from 1996 or something like that. Either way, the point is, that's what I mean. The Deus Ex, the original one, suffers from old person syndrome. Not because it was written by old people. I mean, they were 40 or something at the time when the game came out, but rather because it was written many years ago about a subject that we deal with as, you know, people of the 21st century. We deal with very intimately. So we know even people who, I think everybody knows that people sell used stuff on the internet, is what I mean. Not everybody, but a lot more people than did back in the year 2000. So obviously it's a game that aged very poorly in that perspective. And this game has a little bit of that. I was talking about it last episode, but these guys are launching a website. So I'm saying that, dude, you just go to Squarespace and just like build a quick website. You're good with the website. You don't need to worry about your freaking website. It's like doing the big, like I say that, I obviously Squarespace is my competitor directly, but there are some certain situations where it's better to have a Squarespace website, and there's certain situations where it's not, because there's limitations, and specifically when you want like complete freedom about all the things and just expansibility and owning the code and a bunch of other stuff, especially in a corporate environment. It matters a lot that you have your own development team. Either you hire them or you have your own internal development team. Usually that's a bad idea because it's a lot more expensive and you don't really see the benefit. But the point is, websites are the easiest thing. And they're making this big deal. Anyway, hey Doug, about that discussion we had last week about there's two abouts in the same sentence. The writing quality has dropped drastically in these emails that we have been reading recently. And I'm not talking about how old they sound, about the websites and about the who do machines lie and all that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like the writing has dropped. They didn't edit. The editor didn't go over this properly. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like when you write a game in a big team anyway. If you're doing it by yourself, then it's different. But in a big team, like you have the writers, the content creators, and all that. They go around making like little quests or making little characters, brainstorming here and there, and they write all this stuff, right? And then the editor comes in and look at the size of this thing. We're gonna go through it. But anyway, the editor comes in and says, okay, all this, it's all bollocks. This phrase needs to be rewritten, and this thing that you're saying over here is actually the opposite. So yeah, so the editor comes in, corrects, fixes the things, or tells the writer to fix the things depending on how much time the editor has, which usually is very little because they're an editor. And I think for me personally, it's not really about correcting the little abouts. It's and the things. It's really about the consistency of the writing. Having an editor that goes over the writing of multiple writers and turns all of the text in a game into a cohesive work, that is such an important job. And it's something that I don't have I have zero experience doing editing myself. But it's just, I can't even begin to imagine how difficult it must be to do that. Can you? It's like, because people write very differently, and it feels very jarring when like look at even the formatting. Like, this feels natural. This feels like what the game tends to do, like little paragraphs and all that. And you look at it and you're like, okay. And in a video game, like, this game doesn't really reward skimming, but there are some games that reward skimming. Skimming through the text, and you don't pay attention to exactly all the little details. And those are I feel the hardest to pull off, because you need to make sure that every single line starts off with the important bits, and you make the decision to see if you're going to read that line or if you're going to skip to the next. And I feel that more games should do that than many games do. But in this game in particular, it doesn't reward you that. You should read everything in this game, because there's a lot of meat in here. But it feels a little bit contrived a lot of the time. Either way, that's the job of an editor. About that discussion we had last week, about our take on Panchaea and the risks involved, I really think we should go forward and have a full cover story about the installation. The thing is huge. People want to know about it. Now I know you and Rob are afraid of the pro-augmentation angle, but we don't necessarily have to cast it in that light. I have a friend here in Montreal, Judith Reynaud. She's a well-known sociologist. She's the one who wrote the book 10,000 Heures, which is hours, I believe, in French, maybe. I believe you've read it, right? Anyway, her voice is recognized and respected, and she's ready to comment on this issue. She believes that the fact that this whole installation was built by Augs and couldn't have been built otherwise is not... That is so silly. Isn't... freaking... It's... Why? How could it not have been built otherwise? What do you mean it couldn't have been built otherwise? We haven't been building buildings with people for centuries. Because, well, not centuries, but ever since the invention of the pulley and stuff like that. Anyway, not only a tribute to the power of augmentation, it's also a very strong case for its intense regulation. The main idea behind that Panchaea is a clear example of how the power of augmentation could easily unbalance the present world order if left unchecked. Main idea being Panchaea is a... Yeah, okay. So, if you don't remember what Panchaea is, we've been seeing some of these things. That's the Arctic installation that Everard is building. So Everard isn't with Picos. Picos is just a television set, but they're sort of buddy-buddies. And I thought they were buddy-buddies. And I think that's why they're debating whether they should do this. It's kind of interesting. Except it's presented in a very obtuse way, so it's hard to parse, but I got there, which I don't always do, but I got there. She makes her point with a lot more eloquence than I do, of course. Anyway, I know the whole thing is a bit touchy with the chief editors and everything, but we have to start showcasing stories about the installation. We are getting lower ratings over this. That's a throwaway line right there. That's a really throwaway line. It gets into zero of the complexity of journalism being connected to profit motive. Zero complexity. But let's just let it be there. That's now a theme of the game, which it is actually. It matters a lot because we're invading. Basically, we're breaking into the biggest international media conglomerate in the world, and again, that's a thing that we, as well, at least specifically in the second decade of the 21st century, we are very aware of the effects of the power of media, not in a way that we kind of weren't before, but no, I mean, sort of not kind of. We were aware of it before as well. It's just, you know, it's a little bit more widespread, the understanding of how powerful corporate media can be, just and in terms of shaping public perception and how it's used and all that. Anyway, just to let you know that 2 of our news sites, Covenant Playground and SciCon, have both been nominated for Web 3.0 awards. That's kind of endearing as well. If you don't know what that means, you might not know what that means, actually. Yeah, you might not know. It depends. The term Web 2.0 was very, very used back at the turn. It was more or less around when YouTube started and when Facebook started and when Twitter started and all those websites and Spotify and all that. It was basically around 2008 to 2012. That was which is where this game is. The Web 2.0 was the new big thing. And we abandoned that. Nobody talks about it because not only the paradigm itself is mostly irrelevant these days, but also that we just understood as a community of, you know, web developers in general, we understood that the reality is way too fast for our nonsense terms. So Web 2.0, basically the idea behind Web 2.0 is that we were going to make websites more of a centralized, or we were going to allow, you know, as you know, technology develops, technology itself would allow for websites to have a more established centralization, and it would basically allow for you to have web portals in the sense of, you know, the way we used email on our web servers. It would be it was very different, or rather, the way we used email in our web servers was different from basically the way we used a lot of other websites. We had bulletin boards and we had you know, forums and all that sort of stuff. But it really, that was as complex as websites used to get. And of course, Web 2.0, the idea behind it was to allow the distribution of content in a much more, in a much broader way that really wasn't possible before. Not just because it was prohibitively expensive, but specifically the technology involved in that. You'd have to have plugins and all that sort of stuff. And YouTube is part of the Web 2.0. Well, a Web 2.0 website is typically something like a big platform. Facebook, that definitely, you know, sort of got taken out of that. But the thing with the internet specifically, and the thing with when I say internet, I mean not just the browser. The thing that we saw very quickly, especially, and I think it's related to the reason why nobody talks anymore about Web 2.0. The reason, what we saw very quickly is the shift towards apps. When Apple introduced the iPhone, and I think it was 2008? 2007? I think so. But specifically the iPhone 3G, which I believe is the first one that has to have the App Store. And of course, a few years later, it started to pick up that people were really into that. When phone apps specifically became just a common, you know, part of everybody's life, it really brought to basically, it was just basically, websites are not relevant anymore. They're not at the forefront. And of course that has downsides and it has upsides as well. It depends on how we want to look at things and what your perspective is. But it just shifts the paradigm so completely that it doesn't make any sense to have Web 3.0. But then again, these people, they don't have phones with apps because apparently they don't. They still write emails, which, you know, people still do. It's just, anyway, especially in a corporate context, the emails make sense. Anyway, most original gaming forum. That's funny. That's so funny. In 2021, there's basically one gaming forum. Oh boy, you know, that's also got to do with the apps ecosystem. but also just because there were so many companies dumping so much money into their websites and their platforms that, you know, basically they swallowed everything. Best web comic. Yes, very 2020. No, very 2012 style of web content, basically. Best webisode. How endearing. They didn't have Netflix. Actually, they did. Netflix was already established in 2012. They just didn't have it in a paradigm of social, or in the, you know, the social milieu. That's not the word. What is it? Zeitgeist. Social zeitgeist. You know, they're talking about streaming. For Tony, quote, back in post-nuclear USSR, or Tony's. That's apparently, anyway, in best visual design, because that's something that people really cared about, and they still do. It's just back in the day, the visual design of a website, that was super important. These days it doesn't matter because it's all about the content. That's actually part of why the Web 2.0 well, that's part of something the Web 2.0 specifically was trying to address, is that websites used to be very focused on their design or their visual design rather than their functionality design, and that's mostly because of technological limitations. But then with the advent of HTML5 and a lot of things, we could advance past that, past making pretty websites and making them actually relevant. But anyway, we're out of time for today, so I'm going to continue rambling in the next episode. For right now, I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Deus Ex. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment. Like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.